This great NFC East rivalry is renewed between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders. For the first time in a long time, Washington is a contender. Philadelphia is a contender. And here I want to get to what Philadelphia has to do in order to be victorious, win 6 games in a row, and take over sole possession of first place in the NFC East, getting that record to 8-2. Philadelphia will be sitting in a really nice spot in the NFC East playoff hunt and the NFC playoff picture if they're able to win this game. And, of course, it gives them some wiggle room within the divisional standings. Right now, Philadelphia is in first place just by way of winning percentage because the Eagles are 7-2 and the Commanders are 7-3. My weekly keys here. This is what Philadelphia has to do week in, week out, specifically in this game against Washington in order to be victorious. And this is a guide for how to be successful at all levels of football. You keep the ball out of harm's way. In the NFL, when you lose a turnover battle, you lose about 80% of your games. You have to win at the line of scrimmage. This is why Howie Roseman invests so much draft capital and financial capital in free agency to build up the offensive line and the defensive line. You have to win on 3rd and 4th down. On 3rd down success rate, if you're able to keep the chains moving, it helps your offense. If you can get off the field defensively, you get the ball back to your offense. And on 4th down, that's when some of the critical junctures of the game really happen as far as momentum turning. And in these key areas, that's where Nick Sirianni can't fall flat on his face. You can't beat yourself. And for Philadelphia, they are an elite team. If they don't beat themselves, there's not really many teams across the NFL, in my estimation, that can beat them. They are elite. You have to act elite, especially against a very good team in Washington. And for Philadelphia, I want to continue to see them be a complementary football team, throwing it successfully, running it successfully, having a balanced offense, because that makes them so difficult to guard, especially with arguably the most talented offense in the NFL. And then they have to be sound on special teams and on the defensive side of the football. If the Eagles can do these things week in and week out, they'll continue to be Super Bowl contenders, and they'll win this game against the Commanders. Specifically for this game, my keys to an Eagles victory. For this Philadelphia Eagles defense, it is time to shine. They have been spectacular during this 5-game winning streak. And the numbers, insane. They're surrendering just 10 points per game. They're giving up just 201 yards per game, 126 passing yards allowed per contest, and they have given up just 4 total touchdowns during these 5 straight wins. It is also the first time since 1949 that the Eagles have won 3 straight road games by 20-plus points. And I have posted on my social media pages, I've posted on YouTube, that I think the Eagles are Super Bowl contenders. But there are a lot of detractors and non-believers who will say, Chase, no they're not. The Eagles are fraudulent. Look at the teams that they've beaten. Cleveland Browns, New York Giants, Cincinnati Bengals, Jacksonville Jaguars, and then the Dallas Cowboys. Are those mediocre to bad teams in the NFL? No doubt about it. But the Eagles have handled a lot of those games. They've taken care of business in a league where a majority of the games are decided by 1 score or less. But you win this game on Thursday night against a really good ball club in Washington, you'll shut the haters up. Here's how the Eagles stack up on both sides of the football going into this Week 11 game. They've made a lot of improvements throughout the entire duration of the year. Philadelphia is 7th in points per game offensively at 25.9, 6th in yards per game, just under 374, 10th in yards per play at 5.7. Need to get a little bit better on 3rd down, 39.1% there. That's 15th in the National Football League. After they performed very well in the red zone, they have increased their red zone touchdown percentage to 60%. That's 10th. Defensively for Philadelphia, 5th in points per game, 2nd in yards per game, 2nd in yards per play, 13th on 3rd downs. They can make some strides there, but when the opposing offense gets inside that red zone, Philadelphia's been able to bend but not break. Number 3 red zone scoring defense in the league at 42.3%. But this is going to be a test for this Eagles defense, because look at how Washington is performing, led by the rookie quarterback in Jayden Daniels, number 3 in points per game with 29, 4th in yards per game at 377. They're moving the football any given play, 4th there for yards per play at 6. They are the 5th best third down offense in the NFL, where the game could be won. And a big key additionally in this game, can the Commanders score in the red area? Can the Eagles keep the Commanders out of the end zone in the red zone? Because Philadelphia defensively has thrived in the red area, keeping teams out of the paint. Washington has struggled a little bit midway mark among 32 teams in the NFL. Defensively for the Commanders, Dan Quinn is a defensive mind. They have kept teams out of the end zone and off the scoreboard to a decent degree. 12th in points per game at 21.7, 14th in yards per game, 21st in yards per play, but 23rd on third downs, 30th in the red zone. Key to victory number 2. This Washington secondary is not good. You're probably going to see a lot of Benjamin St-Juste on A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown should be able to own him. And this just isn't a deep, nor is it a talented Commander secondary. That's why they made the trade for Marshon Lattimore at the NFL trade deadline. They realized they needed to improve in trying to defend some of the top wide receivers in the game. Philadelphia has 2 of them, in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And elsewhere in this division, Washington's probably thinking the Giants have Malik Nabers. He's going to be there for a while. The Cowboys have C.D. Lamb. We need to upgrade at that corner spot. And these in-depth Washington numbers defensively, we talk about them being 12th in points per game at 21.7, but they're 27th in points per drive, 30th in keeping teams out of the end zone once they get inside the 20. They're not performing well or getting off the field on third downs, 23rd there, and they're not forcing a lot of turnovers, 18th in turnovers forced. And if Marshon Lattimore is able to play, obviously his status going into this game is unknown as of this recording on Tuesday. It does give that Commander secondary a boost. He has been injured a lot over the last 3 years, but his last healthy season back in 2021, 19 pass breakups. As for A.J. Brown, he continues to be a stud for this Philadelphia Eagles offense. Top 5 wide receiver in the game. Honestly, you can make the argument he's a top 3 guy, but maybe just top 5 right now because he's been a little bit banged up. But when he's been on the field, the production has been incredible. 28 catches for 553 yards despite missing 3 games. And then Devontae Smith really started to come on the last couple of weeks, was held in check somewhat by the Dallas Cowboys. But again, any given week, the Eagles are going to have different people chipping in. Still on pace for a tremendous season, though. 37 grabs for 487 yards. He has the touchdown edge on A.J. Brown. 4 tutties for Smitty, and then 3 touchdowns for A.J. Brown. And for Jalen Hurts, he has an opportunity here to be successful through the air. And during this 5-game winning streak, he's had a lot of success. One of the keys, decisive, accurate, confident. Despite him being under siege, getting pressured and sacked a lot, he's still been able to have a lot of success in throwing the football. He's legitimately playing at an MVP level. And you think back to his 2022 season when he was the MVP runner-up behind Patrick Mahomes, I think he would have won that award if he didn't hurt his shoulder late in the year. At this point, through 9 games, he was completing 67.9% of his passes. This year, it's up to almost 70. His yards in 2022 were a little bit higher. He didn't have the luxury of having Saquon Barkley that year, though. Total touchdowns to interceptions, 1 more touchdown this year, 2 more picks, and his quarterback rating very close. But look at what he's done over his last 5 ball games here. He's completing just under 72% of his throws, more than 1,000 passing yards, 8 throwing touchdowns, and 1 pick, 8 rushing touchdowns. So 16 combined touchdowns for Jalen Hurts during this 5-game winning streak, and his quarterback rating 126.1. This is a game where Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley in the pass game should be able to really show up and show out. Speaking of Saquon Barkley, this Commanders team, they struggle in the secondary. They're not great against the run either. So Philadelphia has to feed Saquon and continue to play complementary football. You attack the secondary in the air, you run the football on the ground, and throughout the course of the ball game, you wear the Commanders down. You win time of possession when they've been so dominant in time of possession, and you keep their offense stale unable to find a rhythm because they get cold on that sideline. And that's what Philadelphia's done such a good job of in the second half, is just dominating physically, but also in time of possession. Yards per carry allowed this year. The Commanders, 28th in the NFL, 4.8 for the year. They were better, though, in stopping the run against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They only gave up 3.3 yards per carry. In my book, Saquon Barkley is the NFL Offensive Player of the Year. He should be able to surpass 1,000 yards rushing in this game and some more. 991 rushing yards already, so 9 yards away from that milestone. He's averaging nearly 6 yards per carry, 110 yards per game, and 6 touchdowns. What a special season he is having. One of the finer seasons among any running back in the history of this organization, which has had a lot of really good running backs. Wilbert Montgomery, Ricky Watters, Brian Westbrook, LaShawn McCoy. It's Saquon who's off to the best start that we've ever seen in this organization. And what's incredible is going back to the point that I mentioned briefly just moments ago, and I wanted to set myself up for this talking point. The Eagles do such a good job of wearing teams down throughout the duration of a 60-minute ball game. Look at these first and second half splits for Saquon. So in the first half of games this year, Saquon's still been really good, right? 79 carries, 343 yards, 4.3 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns, 14 first downs. But then, on the other side of halftime after recess, he gets better and stronger as the game goes. 92 carries in the second half this year. He nearly doubles his yards rushing up to 648. His yards per carry goes up to 7. Still those 3 touchdowns and 25 first downs. He's also explosive with explosive runs of 20-plus yards. Key to the game number 4. The Eagles defense has to bring it. And they have an opportunity to show everybody who doesn't believe in this unit that they are indeed legit, because this Commanders offense has been legit this year. Did Jayden Daniels struggle a little bit against one of the upper echelon defenses in the NFL against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday? No doubt. He was right around 150 yards passing, but still, the Commanders, 3rd in points per game at 29, 1st in points per drive, 1st in time of possession, fewest turnovers. So he's done a really good job of keeping the ball out of harm's way, 2nd fewest picks and fumbles lost. And then the Commanders moving the chains on 3rd downs, 5th in 3rd down offense. And Daniels this year, he's on his way to becoming Rookie of the Year, completing nearly 69% of his passes, more than 2,100 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 picks. So not a lot of touchdowns for him, but making good decisions. He can really throw it to all 3 levels. A theme that you might see, if you look at Daniels' throwing charts, the Commanders have him throwing toward the boundary. He doesn't really throw a lot in between the hashes and in between the numbers. The Eagles could try to take away that boundary, but the Commanders do have a really good receiving core led by Terry McLaurin, who's probably produced more than he should have in previous years with bad quarterback play. Now he has a good quarterback, and he's been putting up some numbers. Key to victory number 5. Eagles have to do a better job of protecting Jalen Hurts. If Jordan Mailata can play in this game, it's going to really help to solve those issues. But this is a Commanders team that's steadily and consistently been able to get pressure on the quarterback. They are 10th in sacks with 27 as a team. The New York Giants lead the NFL in sacks produced with 36. And you're seeing these sacks come from all different areas for this Commanders team. Dante Fowler off the edge as one of those stand-up outside linebackers leads the team with 8.5. Frankie Louvu from that linebacker spot with 5. So Dan Quinn will use him as a linebacker blitzer like the Eagles like to use Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean. You have Dorrance Armstrong with 3. Bobby Wagner, another off-ball linebacker with 2. Cleveland Ferrell with 2 as well. And Philadelphia's offensive line Pro Football Focus grades and ranks, Fred Johnson has been a weakness. 52.6 grade, that's 65th among 76 offensive tackles. Landon Dickerson, top 16 with the grade of 73. Cam Jurgens ranks 18th among centers at 63.7. What a bargain deal Mekhi Becton has been. I think he's found his future home at right guard. A grade of 74.5. That's 13th among 77 guards. And Lane Johnson continues to be the best right tackle in football. A grade of 83.7. That is 7th among 76 offensive tackles. Jalen Hurts' sack per dropback rate, the highest of his NFL career, and that's a little bit of a concern moving forward. But again, you get Jordan Mailata back, and if he can play, it's going to help to solve a lot of those issues. So finally, I want you to predict the score. Commanders, Eagles, Lincoln Financial Field, Thursday Night Football will be live for this game right here on Philadelphia Eagles Now, so be sure to join us for another watch party. My prediction, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be back and forth. I think the Eagles win by 3, 30-27. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on Thursday night. In the meantime, so much coverage here on Eagles Now because that's what we do.